Welcome back to TYT Sports, everybody. Jason Rubin here. So Dan is about to join me in a minute to do some actual clips that he would give the okay/green light on as I put my phone away because it's very rude and inappropriate. Turn you on silent. Apple iPhones. Shouldn't be promoting them anyway. But I'm going to do a clip with you that I think is very important. It's probably should be the most important story in all of sports news, and that is why the New York Mets will win the 2015 World Series. I don't even know if I can get through that with a straight face. As some of you know, all of you should know, I'm a diehard Mets fan that has bled blue and orange since the day I was born because my father unfortunately did not make me a Yankee fan, and I have been stripped of seeing multiple championships from a baseball team that I support. Instead, my greatest moment was the 2006 NLCS, technically the 2000 World Series, but we got made a mockery of by the New York Yankees, and that was really, really, really bad. I've seen the Phillies win a World Series in my lifetime, which brings me to tears of anger, and I want to have tears of joy. Since the trade deadline, when the Mets signed Cuban sensation Yoenis Cespedes as what the New York Times called a shiny new rental car because we actually cannot sign him at the end of the season because of the clause in his contract that demands him being released 5 days after the World Series with no qualifying offer being able to be given to Yoenis Cespedes because that has to be 15 days after the World Series, and any player released by a team cannot re-sign said player until May of the following year. So he's probably going back to the Tigers. But Yoenis Cespedes is making a great case for being one of the top 10 greatest Mets to ever put on a Mets jersey, or uniform I should say, because since he's come to the team, he's batting over .315. He's slugged a few home runs. He had the 3 doubles against the Miami Marlins at Marlins Park, which are basically home runs at any other park in the country. Oh, God, it's so much fun to watch this team. But since the team went out and got Cespedes, and with David Wright, Captain America, rightfully named, coming back into the lineup after being out since end of April with back stenosis, which is a major pain in the ass if you're ever were an athlete and you have any type of injury to your back. It sucks. It is not fun. With Wright back in the lineup, Granderson and Duda finally hitting pretty well. Granderson slugged 9 home runs since that break. The Mets' offense was unbelievably bad. They were last in runs scored for the first half of the season, and since the second half, since that trade deadline, we're in first. We're scoring more as many runs as the Toronto Blue Jays, who I still do not believe will win the World Series, and for not as good reason as I had at the trade deadline. David Price has made a huge, huge addition to that Blue Jays rotation. Credit there. And their lineup is loaded. Credit there. I just don't personally believe that a rotation with David Price and only David Price, even though Burley and Dickey, my team, have been pitching pretty well, I don't see that type of rotation winning a World Series, and pitching does matter, which brings me back to the point of why the Mets can win in 2015, because as the offense comes around finally, the pitching has been there all season long. There's only one thing to worry about with the New York Metropolitans. A lot of young pitchers, and they have not in their careers pitched for 7 straight months, and possibly 7.5, depending on how far they go into the playoffs. So if their arms tire out, that could be terrible. But the rotation that boasts Matt Harvey, Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, I mean, it's a superhero lineup. I'm not even kidding. One of them is named Thor. The other is named the Dark Knight. One of them has beautiful locks of hair. Francis always talks about Andrea Pirlo's beard. Francis is not here. I'm pointing to Frank. Can we go to the wide shot as I point to nobody in that chair real quick? Yeah, nobody. Nobody there. Non-existent. Francis always mentions Pirlo's beard. Well, Syndergaard's, I shouldn't say Syndergaard, deGrom's hair is beautiful. And Bartolo Colon, the Immortal, also a great nickname. Seriously, we have a lineup a rotation of superheroes. We could take on the Avengers if we wanted to. But everything is in order for them to actually make a run. There are 6 games ahead in the NL East as I do this clip today. And as long as they're not one LOLMets collapse away from throwing it all down the drain and falling apart in September, I've seen the fucking wheels come off this team many times in the past, 2007 being an example. They actually have a lot of the materials on that team to make a run at the World Series. It just really, really bothers me. I shouldn't say really so much, it's a Donald Trump thing, but it bothers me. It frustrates me. It upsets me that the Cardinals are going to win 110 games with nobody on that team possibly hitting 100 RBIs this season and a young pitching staff that is so perfectly managed. Terry Collins of the Mets is not a great manager. He's a player manager. He's an ego manager. But his X's and O's in baseball standards, his shifts always confuse me. His position rotation players and his 6-man rotation to protect the pitchers. Just go for the win, man. It's my one chance. You got to do it for me. The Cardinals, on the other hand, just have everything in line. And, of course, the Giants in the National League. Oh, it's going to be a tough road if we even make the playoffs, as I get too excited and too ahead of myself. But if we do, it's a big if. It's a big what if. But I think we can do it. There's a few reasons why. You're probably going to leave 150 reasons as to why there is no chance they will win the World Series. But you are allowed to, because that's the beauty of the audience and YouTube comment section. So tell me why the Mets are not going to win a World Series in 2015. I dare you. And I will debate every single one of you commenters who thinks that they won't. Go for it. And some people actually are asking for baseball clips. Predictions for the AL. I would love to see a Mets versus Astros World Series, but Astros out of the AL, baby. Young talent.